Hey, badass business owners, my name's Tammy and I'm here to help you grow your business, but more importantly, grow those profits. And what I want to do today is I want to share a conversation that I had with a brand new coaching client. And it's important that we have this conversation because I know there's a lot of you that are in the same boat as this person. So normally when people call me up for coaching, what they want to do is they want to better understand their business numbers, because they understand that if you understand your business numbers, you're going to be able to use those numbers to grow those profits and grow those sales. It tells you tons of information. I have tons of videos on it. And that is not what we're here to talk about today. What we want to talk about is what I found behind the scenes. So on our initial call, we kind of just talk a little bit and whatnot. And then I always ask people, hey, can I get access to your QuickBooks so I can start running some reports, kind of seeing what's going on, stuff like that. Well, when I got access, let me tell you, a mess. I'm like, there's sometimes where there's big gaps of information, stuff missing. There's things that have been categorized the wrong way. There's things that are just like, I'm like shaking my head, right? I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but there's a lot of different mess in there. And I'm thinking to myself going, you've taken the step to get a QuickBooks, and I applaud you for that. And you've connected your accounts. Well, turns out not really. I thought they had, but there were other accounts that weren't connected that were tied to the business. And I'm like, okay, we've got a step. But then as I'm looking through transactions, I'm like, okay, we obviously blur the line between what's personal and what's business. So we have a whole mess there that needs to be cleaned up. And, you know, there's just all these different things that are going on. And it's just like, okay, I don't see how you're using this. So when we're talking and I'm like, hey, can I ask you a question? So how have you been doing your business in the past? And what is your process for doing your bookkeeping and whatnot? And they're like, yeah, I'm going to be honest. I go through spurts where I want to do it and then I don't want to do it. And then sometimes I log on and my account's not connected and I throw my hands up saying, okay, I don't need to do this. I don't understand, which that explained why there were big gaps of missing information if the account wasn't connecting at different times. But this whole thing is like, oh, I haven't done it. So then I started asking myself, because this has gone on for years. So my next question is, can I ask you, have you paid your taxes for the last few years? And I hear this silence. And I know right away the answer is no, but I'm curious as to what answer I'm going to get. And they're like, no, not really. You know, they said that if I can just get my books caught up and then, you know, get it all cleaned up and whatnot, then they can do my taxes. And they referred me to this person and I went to that person and then I got the price and I was like, oh, I ain't going to do that. And no, I haven't paid my taxes yet. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, you do understand that you're going to have one hefty tax bill when this gets done. It's not helping you not doing this. I understand that you don't want to do what we call a cleanup, which is to go back and fix up the past. But you do understand that the longer you wait, you're going to end up paying more in taxes than you are to get it fixed. And this is a problem I see all of the time where people misunderstand. There's two different things going on when you talk to a bookkeeper. One is, you know, they have a monthly fee for doing your bookkeeping on a regular basis, keeping it going. And then there's what we call a cleanup. And a cleanup means, hey, you've got a mess here and I need to go organize it. Sometimes that organizing is to get the categories correct. Sometimes it's about putting things in the right categories. Sometimes it's about pulling out all of the personal stuff. A lot of times it's all of that. It's like, how do I blow this up? Because there's times when I'll see someone says, oh no, I probably only did 100 grand in sales. And it turns out that according to their books, they actually did way more than that. And in some cases, they did do way more than that. They just weren't capturing it correctly. And other times they did way less than that, but they were doubling their sales all the time because they were matching them incorrectly. And they were going to overpay on taxes. So sometimes when you're having someone help clean up your stuff, they actually save you money because they catch where things are getting doubled up. There's so many different things that go on during that cleanups. A lot of times it's about, hopefully if you get the right person, they're going to organize you. Like I love organizing people's sales so they see where they come. I love organizing their cost of goods, getting them out of expenses, putting them into cost of goods, organizing those. I mean, I get really, my fun comes from how do I organize somebody's books to where they can use the information, because you know how I am. And there's some people that do a great job at bookkeeping. They just don't think about you, the end user, and how they can help you use the information to better run a business. So for example, when we get to the end of the month, I'm going to tell you kind of what I see, stuff like that. This isn't me trying to sell myself to you. What I'm trying to tell you is you want to look for somebody, two things. One, you want to look for somebody that's going to see it through your eyes and how can they help you out. But two, I really need you to understand you've got to do the cleanup. You've got to stay on top of your business. You've got to pay your taxes. You've got to pay your taxes. Please stop. I can't tell you how many people that I see that are not just 1 year behind, like they haven't paid last year's. I'm talking they are 2, 3, 4 or more years behind in paying their taxes. And all that's doing is asking for trouble. You're better off getting them all caught up, going to the CPA, seeing if they can come up with a lump sum, what they can do to get you on a payment plan, and then you fix it moving forward. And then that way you can start putting money into a tax account, saving up the money for your current sales and stuff like that. But my main thing is you can't just go to somebody and say, hey, can you fix what's there now and just do regular monthly stuff? No, there's going to be a big charge. And that can range wildly. There are some people that are going to charge you thousands and thousands of dollars. And then there's other people that are going to say, hey, look, normally this is a thousands and thousands type of job, but I'm going to kind of work with you a little bit on this because we need to get you caught up and stuff. That's usually the kind of the conversations that I have with people, is because I want to see their success. But that number is still going to be big. You got to understand, if you haven't done something for 4 years, that's like 48 months of fixes. So if they have a monthly fee, you're asking them to fix 48 months of stuff that's a mess, not to mention everything behind the scenes that are a mess. The reason for this video is simply this. I want you to make sure that when you make the decision that you are really going to understand your business numbers, because you're sick and tired of not having enough money, you're sick and tired of not knowing where your money's going, when you're sick and tired of struggling job after job after job, and you're ready to start making some serious cash, to start making some serious funds, bookkeeping and cleaning up your numbers is one of your top priorities. And that may not be cheap for you to be able to do. But it's important because you're thinking short term. You're thinking, how am I going to take care of that today versus the benefits of what you're getting moving forward? You see what I'm saying? Because if right now you're barely breaking even every single month, if getting your books cleaned up, getting them organized, getting them to make some sense helps you make back that money in the next few months, if not the year, maybe it does take a year, but if you can get that money back and then a bunch more on top of it, is that not worth it? If I was to ask you to give me $100 today, and I promise you'll get $1,000 over the next few months, more than likely you're going to take that bet, right? We're going to do that as long as we trust the individual that we're having that conversation with. Because it's not just also about having clean books. You can go out and you can spend, $1,000, $2,000, whatever, to get everything cleaned up and whatnot. But if you don't use the information, that's going to be the other part of the problem. Because I've had times where somebody will get everything caught up and then they still don't use the information. They still don't say, hey, what's it telling me? This whole reason I do this show is to help you say, I want to take my numbers and I want to make a difference. I want to take my numbers and I want to make more money. I want to take my numbers and I want to change my life. I want to take my numbers so I don't have to work so freaking hard all the time. That's what we want to do with the numbers. So it's one thing to want to understand those numbers and to make a difference. It's another thing to make sure that you've got good, clean numbers so that you can make that decision. But at the end of the day, it's about the two being married together, getting the numbers right and then taking the numbers and running with them and getting them done in such a way that helps you, the end user, use the information. I pride myself, for example, that my folks, that I can see the growth in their business and I just feel like I'm part of that journey, right? I'm a small piece of it. Some people I just do the books, some people we do only coaching, and some people I do both. It doesn't matter. Once again, it's what I love seeing is what happens with you, the end person, because it's you who's going to take that information and run with it. I'm not the one out in the field. I'm not the one making those final decisions. You are. But I want you to make decisions that aren't just gut related. I want you to trust but verify your gut. One of my favorite things to do when I'm coaching somebody is I'll ask them a question. What do you think you did last June? What did you think you did last year? What do you think you did here? Just to see the answer and how close they come. And sometimes they're right on. They're pretty darn close. And other times they're so far off, it's ridiculous. And that's the part that always makes me laugh. So ultimately, it's going to come down to, who are you? Are you somebody that's just going to keep running and gunning and working your tail off and taking guesses and stabs in the dark at what it is that you are trying to do? Or are you somebody that's going to get those numbers cleaned up so you can use the numbers to strategically say, what am I going to do? I was explaining this the other day. Your numbers, what you're doing is you're looking at them 4 different ways. One is the today, what's happening at this moment. Then there's times when you're going to look at the numbers and say, how did I do compared to the past? How did I do last month? How did I do last year? Then you're going to also look at it and say, what am I going to do next month? What did I do last year for next month, so I can figure out what my plan is this year to far exceed what I did last year. And you're also going to look at it for the future. You know what am I going to do next quarter, next 6 months from now? What am I going to do next year when you're getting towards the end of the year? Your numbers are being used in all different directions of ways for you to be able to use the information. So the information, you've heard me say this, garbage in, garbage out. If you got bad numbers, you're going to be using bad numbers to grow and try, or at least attempt to grow your business. And we want to make sure that you're using nice, clean numbers. Now, I know I bounced around a little bit throughout this, but I was trying to just take some of that frustration that I was feeling from that call. The owner is awesome. They're amazing. They know that I'm having this conversation. I'm just letting you know that it's important that you guys all hear the story, because there's a little bit of this in every single person that I talk to. Every single person that I work with has some version of this going on, where they might be on top of it, but yet it's not done correctly. There's times when I have people that haven't been touching it, and it shows. I have sometimes where somebody says, yeah, I've had it for 3 years, and you open it up and there's nothing in there for the entire 3 years. So they did the right thing. They've been paying the monthly fee, but they never connected any accounts and never did anything with it. I've seen a lot of different things out there. But what's important is when they come to me and we're doing that coaching call and we're like being serious about where we want to go, the ones that say, I'm ready to do whatever it takes to be able to grow my business, those are the ones that are successful. The ones that will be on a call with me and then they'll want me to call, we'll talk another couple weeks later or another month later, whatever. And I'm like, hey, what did you do from last time? Nothing. They might have run with the things that they wanted to do, but when it came to the numbers piece, which is why they originally called, they haven't done anything. They haven't been looking at those numbers. They haven't been using those numbers. They haven't been caught up on those numbers. And if you want to do them yourself, that is fine, but you need to set a time of the week that you're going to do it every single day, whether it's every morning, every Monday, every Friday, every Saturday. I don't care when you pick. If you're going to do it yourself, you need to be consistent with it so you can use the numbers. Okay. This is one of those lecture type ones because it's something that everybody needs to hear. Some of you, freaking fantastic. You do a great job with this, but a lot of you are somewhere on the scale from absolutely horrid to amazing. Most of you, if you're honest with yourself, you line up somewhere in the middle. And the question is, where are you? And do you really plan to use your numbers to get better? And if so, how clean are those numbers? And you know what? You may have to pay a cleanup fee. You may have to have somebody go in there and somebody clean it up and get it right, to get it organized, to get it caught up. Pay the fee. If you are dead serious about getting your business going in the right direction, I promise you, getting them cleaned up is going to be one of the best decisions you've made, because now I can look at last year. I can look at the year prior if I've got that in there, and I can start seeing trends. I can see that, hey, every June I did 30,000 and then I did 40,000. So it's not hard to guess that maybe this June you should be doing 45 to 50,000. Or you might be able to say, I've been trending 10% comps, so I'm going to plan on 10% comps on what I did last year. What did I do last year? Let me go look so I can add that to it so I can see what's going on. What were my best sellers? What categories did I struggle with? Why on earth did I spend all that money during that one particular month? Holy crap, I've got to keep in mind that next June, I've got this huge payment coming due that I completely forgot about that hits every single June. The numbers tell you all kinds of good stuff, all kinds of things that are going to help you run your business and not be surprised. So that's what's important. I just want to make sure that you're hearing the message and realizing you've got to have good solid numbers for you to be able to use them correctly. So this way you can grow those sales, but more importantly, those profits. And with that, I'm going to wrap this up. And I know that you guys are badasses and you are going to start making a difference and do what it takes to make more money. I'll talk to you next time. Bye for now.